In 1996, the horror movie genre was basically on life support. People were not watching those types of movies. People didn't really care. You got a bunch of direct-to-video various sequels, but no real mainstream horror movies came out around that time. And then Scream came out and really changed everything. Wes Craven's film is considered a modern masterpiece for a lot of reasons. It upended a lot of previous tropes about the drama and sparked a brand new interest in horror films. You would go on to get movies that kind of wanted to copy that magic and get it in a bottle, such as I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend. Halloween H20 would get its kind of pseudo reboot a couple years later. And it really did change the landscape for horror films. And that has been felt all the way up until today. So let's talk about Scream 6. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, red subscribe button, notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. I will not do any spoilers in this review, okay? I do not like having movies spoiled for me. Films like this that I really, really love, I do everything I can in my power not to spoil them for you. That will continue with this review. So the original Scream comes out in 1996. It has, some recognizable teen names. Drew Barrymore is, a star at that time. She's in the movie. They kill her in the first 5 minutes. People are like, what the hell? And the movie's great. It has a twist ending. Instead of one psycho killer running around, there's two. You have the big reveal at the end, and it's great. The original Scream is fantastic. The sequels are okay. Scream 2 fares better than the third film. Scream 2, they go off to college. Scream 3, they're down in LA. And then that was basically the end of the trilogy. And it could have just stayed dead, pardon the pun. And it did for a long time, until 2010. The first three films have their kind of schlocky enjoyment. The two sequels, I should say in particular. The second film introduces the kind of Scooby-Doo ending where the Ghostface killer takes off the mask and then you see who it is and la-di-da, despite the fact that the original Scream does not do that. They do not do a pull off the mask reveal. The Stu and Billy reveals are much more organic and part of the plot at the very end. They don't actually take masks off during that sequence. So that's introduced in the sequels, carries on to all of every movie after the second one basically does that. And Scream 4 came out in 2010, and I think that is probably either that or the third or the fourth one are the worst of the movies. I think Scream 4 is pretty bad. Wes Craven directed all four of those films. He made this weird kind of change in his directing style when it came to visuals. You can almost see the light source blasting the actors' faces, and their faces are like lit up like a Christmas tree, but everything around them is like cloaked in this weird darkness. And the movie looks like trash. It also has this very muddled and kind of watered down look to it, and it's really weird. The story in that one is okay. The overall like meta narrative about people walking around streaming their entire lives did happen. The whole Google Glass thing they tried to kind of throw in there, and that definitely didn't pan out in real life. So that movie feels a little bit more dated, and I don't think it's all that great. Scream, which came out last year, the reboot, I thought was awesome. I really liked that movie. It told a really cool story, and the new cast was great. I really like the new kind of core group of cast members that we got there. So the relationship between Sam and Tara Carpenter, which is a nod to director John Carpenter, those two characters have a great relationship, and that continues in this movie as well. So I really liked what they did last year with Scream, the reboot. So even though, it's a sequel, they just called it Scream. And I was excited to see what they do next. The problem with that last movie, though, is that it really did feel like they had worn out the California setting. They had done LA, they had done Woodsboro three times, and then they had done LA and the college, and by that time, they needed a change of pace. And horror films that do what this movie was going to do don't normally succeed, right? So when they sent Jason into effing space, that didn't work. When they sent him to Manhattan for the last 20 minutes of that movie, that didn't work. Leprechaun in space, like these kind of gimmicky setting changes don't always work, and this one does. it really benefits from the new setting, despite the fact that they didn't film it in New York, they filmed it in Montreal. There's some things that are really kind of unbelievable about it, like the New York City subways. The lights just don't turn off in the middle of your subway ride. That's not a thing that happens. There's too much power running through the third rail up into those subway cars for that to ever happen. As somebody who used to live there, I know that. But they did capture kind of this claustrophobic feel of New York apartments, which I really appreciated and enjoyed, despite the fact that Gail Weathers is clearly a like multi millionaire, because her apartment is at least 10 $20 million apartment. It's huge. All the other characters live in like these kind of cramped apartments. They all have to have roommates because it's New York. But Gail Weathers, investigative news journalist, has a $15 million apartment with a balcony. That doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of, there's some stuff plot armor wise that's a little unbelievable. But overall, I love this version of Ghostface. This is an extremely aggressive, in your face, and very, very violent version of that character. And I like that they're pushing it. They're just going like really aggressive with that, and I really dig it. Ghostface has become iconic. All of the best horror, slasher, and in particular villains are recognizable by their silhouettes. You know, Chucky in the overalls and the shock of red hair with the knife, Leatherface, the chainsaw, and the big, you know, the white apron, the cooking apron, or the butcher's apron. Michael Myers and the kitchen knife and the mechanic's outfit. Freddy Krueger and the razor gloves and the fedora, the sweater too. You know, Jason and the machete with the hockey mask and the big old hulking arms. These characters, and Ghostface is among them, right? If you had a silhouette of all these major characters, you could pick out Ghostface because he's got the big long hooded cloak with kind of the triangular shaped flaps at the bottoms of the arms and the bottom of the robe itself. And they really do a great job with that in this movie. The twist at the end I really, really liked. I kind of caught onto it right kind of near the end, kind of figured out what was happening. But the story and how this connects to the other films, and the last film in particular, is really, really well done. I'm surprised that this movie came out as quickly as it did. The last movie came out last year. I don't know what they're going to do next. I think this is kind of, between the last film and this one, a really good way to reboot the franchise and hopefully make this into a really good sequel trilogy. I would say the first three movies are kind of their own thing. The fourth movie is just kind of there by itself and isn't really great. And then now it seems like they're building a new trilogy of characters, and this is really a great step in the right direction and builds off of the previous movie very well. The performances here are awesome. The kills are great. Like I said, the relationship between Samantha and Tara is awesome. Both Melissa and Jenna, the actresses, are incredible in those roles. I really like this new cast of characters they have, because let's be realistic here. You can have the new setting and you can have the great kills, but if you don't have a set of characters that work well together to lead your movie, none of that matters. And the filmmakers here really deserve a lot of credit for their casting choices and the chemistry that they have between the various players. So I love Scream 6. I think it's great. This is probably the best movie since the original. I think it is a little bit better than the last film, and I love the last film. So I'm interested to see how this kind of ages. But yeah, Scream 6 benefits from the new setting. Really good taking it out of California. The performances, it's a lot bloodier than the other films. That's great. The kills, everything, it's all fantastic. So big fan of this one. Well done for a sequel to a movie that came out a year ago, and a sixth movie in this franchise, believe it or not. And proving that, you know, you can still breathe life into these older properties as long as you make the right decisions when it comes to your filmmaking choices. So thank you so much for checking out the video. If you liked it, if you found it helpful, if you hated it, let me know in the comments. Where would you rank this among all of the Scream films? Hit me up, let me know. You can also share the video. That tells the powers that be that it's worth promoting. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Okay, so